Do you think that the art that women make is different from the art that men make?
Basically, there's no difference. I think maybe women have different concerns, and so that makes a big difference, but I wouldn't say it's very different.
No, not necessarily. I think it really depends on the person and where they're coming from and just the general person, not necessarily gender-oriented.
Boy, that's a tough one. I don't know if I really want to go there.
I think that the art that women made is more surrounded with their the fact that they are the source of life, and I think they celebrate that. There's less violence, less materialism in it, and I think there's a lot of it on display here tonight.
Thanks.
Hello and welcome to HIP. I'm Roman. Tonight on HIP, we're featuring a 5-woman art show at the Pirate Gallery. HIP correspondent Joshua Hassel talks to the women responsible for this art. He discusses the process, the motivation, and the intentions of their work.
We're here tonight at Pirate at a show of 5 women artists: Jill Hadley Hooper, Linde Schlumbolm, Kathy Hutton, who has an installation in the back room, Karen Bozick, and Nancy Bohm. We're going to ask the volatile question: is the artwork that women make different from the artwork that men make?
If you look in terms of men versus women, I think women tend to stress themes that are important to women, like home and nature and garden. Certainly there are men that do the same thing or similar things, so again, it's not exclusive. But if there is some kind of distinction, I think that's it.
Here with Kathy Hutton inside her installation, which is called Ladders and Laundry. What's this about, Kathy?
Well, basically different levels, stages that we go through in our lives. So if you look at the embroidery, there are narratives, one about love, one about work and reaching your goals, right? And so the ladder kind of goes in with that too. The ladder of success, etc. So at the very top though, as you come in, there's a sun up there, and that's more the spiritual thing that I think we're really using all this stuff to get to, right? You know, we use love to try to get happiness. We use work to try to get happiness. And really, it's kind of a separate thing and is kind of above all the rest of it.
Is the artwork that women make different than the artwork that men make?
Yes, I have to say so.
Do you think there's a difference in the kind of artwork that women make and the kind of artwork that men make?
I'm not really sure. I think with Linde's work, it's more feminist in inspiration. The wedding dresses kind of harken to patriarchal society and getting married. And I think her work, to me, almost seems like it's anti-marriage.
I'm here with Linde Schlumbolm, and she has a major installation here at Pirate. These are large works which actually extend onto the floor. Can you tell us what these works are about?
Well, about a year ago, my mother left me her wedding dress, and it's about a 49-year-old dress now, and it's a little damaged. And she said, well, you know, take this dress and you can do whatever you want to with it. So what I decided to do, instead of making something out of it, was to paint it. And what happened was, as I painted this dress, it really became a little bit more about me and the progressions that I went through. And so there's 3 dresses, Bride 1, Bride 2, and Bride 3, and what they are is sort of a progression of a woman's life, from the fiance to the bride and then to the wife. And so I've used different symbols and collage images to sort of express this idea of maturity, going from a young woman who thinks mostly about how she looks and how she's going to get married in this dress, this idea of this dress, into the fruition of the bride, and then finally the maturity of the wife. And the antlers represent sort of the crown of coming of age.
We're actually interviewing people, and we're asking them the question, do you think that the artwork that women make is different from the artwork that men make?
That's a good question. I do. I think there is such a thing as female art, and there's such a thing as male art. And some artists cross gap or cross that gender line. Some of them do not.
This is Nancy Bohm, and we're here at Pirate with some of her artwork. Nancy, your artwork has really become very intricate and has lots of layers to it. Can you tell us what you're doing in this artwork?
I'm just honoring the things that I love in the garden, actually.
Well, you've built up sort of a layered kind of effect in the frames here, and you've got like almost found classical elements in them too.
These are objects that are dear to me, that are sort of transformed by the clay and plaster. Old dried stalks from the garden, elements of the central image. The subject of this is what I call the grandfather sunflower from my garden last year that stood all winter long, lost all its branches, and was sort of a sentinel for me. So,
what do you think? Do you like the artwork?
This is my sister's work. And
of course
I love it.
Of course I love it. It's my father, it's our father and our grandfather, I believe.
Really?
Yes.
So there is a little bit of a family resemblance then, do you think?
What do you think, Nick?
I'm here with Jill Hadley Hooper, and Jill is a famous artist, but she's also very well known for having come up with the name. Can you say it for us, Jill?
Teletoons.
And you came up with that name, and that name is now used widely.
It is. And it was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago that they had the contest, and a girlfriend and I sat down and came up with some names, and it won. So we got to be DJs. It was when the studio was in Broomfield then.
Your art seems to have several things going on to me. It seems not only to be about the subject matter, but also about the technique and the materials that you use. What are you doing in your work?
Well, the whole like gessoing the paper and surface preparation is really important. It's part of the piece to me. I gesso often like 10, 11 times before I really start working. That way I can dig in on the paper and really work the paper and sort of work the problem out, as it were, on the paper, leaving the erasures and the cuttings and all that stuff on there. I think that's the history of the piece to me is as interesting as the finished.
Do you think that the artwork that women make is different than the artwork that men make?
Yes, I think it is different.
Do you think that's good or bad, or?
It depends on the artist. I think it's an individual thing, and it doesn't really matter if it's a man or a woman. Everybody's art is different no matter who you are.
I had a huge debate with a professor in college over that. I mean, a big rip and fight. I said yes, and he said no, and I said, you're a man, how do you know? So we were talking about the female aesthetic, and if there really is such a thing. I think there is. I mean, maybe, okay, I have a male first name, so a lot of people think that my art is done by a man, but that's just because people approach art assuming that men do it.
This is Joshua Hassel. Thanks for coming along with me to Pirate tonight.